Hey everybody, so today we're actually going to do a local legends on why it's called that, a local legend, and also haunted history with this, because there's a couple variances of this story, and it has to do with this place called Lover's Rock. It's an outcrop looking out over Millersburg and Lykens, like over the valley. And there's also a haunted history story that's a little less information with it, a little more generic. But the stories are very different because I looked at the one. I wanted to do these as shorts. The long story, which is the local legends, it's just too long to do in 3 minutes to tell the story right. And then the haunted history story, I can easily do it in that format, but I figured I'm going to put these together. And it sort of is a little bit like why is it called that as well. But it's called Lover's Rock. In right near Millersburg and Lykens, sort of in between them, in the Fort Halifax region. So it's somewhere in that region overlooking that valley. But anyways, so there's two really cool stories, and we're going to tell the local legends first, which is the one that's a little bit more information and quite a bit different. So there were a group of settlers that had come in Philadelphia on one of the ships, and they decided they all want to go. They were about adventure and that type of stuff. So they decided to all pair off. I think they said there was like 36 of them or something like that. And there was two brothers, fraternal twins, by the name of William and Harold Winghams. And they decided, of course, naturally, they as twin brothers were like, hey, we're going to head out together. So as they went out through west, they would run into several different tribes, some that they had easy relations with, and other ones that not so much, and they got attacked. So they were actually running from a group and had escaped, and they ran into another Native Americans people's tribe, and they were very kind. They fed them, they cleaned them up and everything, and they said, "Hey, would you like to come to our village?" And the brothers looked at each other and was like, "Yeah, sounds like an adventure." So they went and they met these Native Americans at their village, or went to their village, and it was a really unique experience because they'd never been at something like this. Just a different way of life, a different culture, and those types of things. And they were sort of let to be allowed to go and look around. And they went past this one wigwam, and they heard this woman singing, and she was singing in English. So they couldn't get in the tent, but they crept outside of it and sort of tapped and said, "Hey, who are you? What's going on?" And she explained that she was a white woman and that she had been captured, and she was adopted, had been adopted by the chief, had been well taken care of, but she was being forced to marry his son. Now, the son, it turns out, actually did truly love her. And they decided at that point to devise a plan that they would rescue her and get out of there. So the one brother, Harold, was going to wind up creating a diversion and carry something to let them see that he was carrying something that looked human formed. And hopefully they would chase after him, while William would be waiting for her right nearby the tent when she was presented to the son by the chief. And they had devised a plan that she would ask to be able to pray to the Great Spirit, and then she would make her way over to where Williams was waiting for her in the brush. And when she kneeled down to pray, he would grab her, pick her up and put her on his horse, and he would take off. Now he was going to go, there was a mountain here called Barry's, we call it now today Barry's Mountain, and he would ultimately wind out, getting away that way, and Harold would sort of lead him off the other direction. Well, when she came out, she was brought up by the chief to be presented. She requested, "Can I pray to the Great Spirit?" And she sort of headed over in the direction of where she thought William was going to be. And she wasn't quite sure, and she heard a low hiss from this guy, and she kneeled down right there, And as soon as she started praying, William made the grab for her, took her, got her on the horse, and it was a collective howl from the Indians because they were stealing away the chief's son's bride, and they weren't happy about it. So they immediately started chasing after him. And then the brother Harold went by, and it sort of confused him because he had what looked like a person as well, and most of the force chased after Harold. And he was down in the valley right below this mountain. And William was at the top of the mountain, and they're at this rock that would later become known as Lover's Rock. He saw no escape. And he heard the brother Harold yell from below, "I'm mortally wounded. You need to make the jump. Trust the horse. You will make the jump and you'll be all right." So according to legend, he made the jump. And the jump ultimately killed the horse, but they were able to escape away. They wound up ultimately coming upon a group of settlers, and they were taken to Fort Halifax, and all was well. But his brother was dead. Now, the story goes the old Indian chief, from the Indians' perspective, he wound up becoming rather frail and sick. The son, he sort of went a little nuts. He went up to this Lover's Rock where this miraculous jump happened and basically dug out a grave for himself and a spot for him next because he truly did love this lady. But he would come down from the rock when he was working on it, wearing flowers and grasses and sort of dancing and I guess giggling and doing chuckling to himself. And it disturbed him that he had gone like completely mad. So ultimately, when the chief passed away, the people left the son there, and they left the valley because they now felt like it was cursed to a degree. It's said later on, William and this woman who was his wife, they traveled back to this wilderness where this happened, and when they arrived at the Lover's Rock, here the Indian was laying there, and spoke to them. And when they got down off their horses and went to him, he had passed. And so they buried him. And after that, it was known as Lover's Rock. And that was the local legend. Now we go into the second part of the story. So the second part of the story, this is the haunted history one. It's much different. There are no names attributed to these two men. They had gone westward, just like the Wingin brothers. And in this story, they came upon an encampment, and they hadn't been invited there. They just came upon it, and they heard this wondrous singing voice, but it was in English. And here they were able to sneak into the tent and realize it's this white woman who had been kidnapped by the tribe. And apparently in this case, they were going to do terrible things to her and stuff like that. And they were planning on just whatever. And they decided to rescue her. And in the process of rescuing her, the one brother went up this one way, not up the mountain, and one went the other way to, cause a diversion. Well, the man that had the woman that they were rescuing, they escaped to Fort Halifax, which is reasonably nearby. And the other brother, well, he got caught, and was mortally wounded. And they say in the story, what happened there is he climbed up this rock, which would become known as Lover's Rock. And there he was able to view his last sunset, and it was there that he would die. And the story behind it, they said, really call it Lover's Rock, is this man, the man that died, he's the one that truly loved her and wanted to marry her and was willing to lay down his life so that she could be free. Now, whatever happened to the other man and to the woman in this version is nobody ever knows. I would guess, a much happier ending. Maybe they got married. They say, though, then after that, there's a lone figure of a sad warrior that walks about this valley and will be seen from time to time standing on top of this rock looking for his lost love and mourning the fact that he never got to spend the rest of his life with her. And they assume that it was this man who gave his life as a diversion. And that's the story of Lover's Rock as the haunted history story. History is out there, my friends.